Hello, my name is Alyssa Williams.
And I'm Christian Scott.
And we're here to talk about how we've learned to set variant Sudoku over the last year and a half. We both took a course at Clemson University with our professors Neil Calkin and Eliza Gallagher, who are standing right over there. And we learned, it was entitled Puzzles and Paradoxes, and the main focus was variant Sudoku. We'd both learned how to solve Sudoku before class, but not necessarily variant Sudoku. So we kind of learned that, first of all, a community exists for this, so who knew that happened? And then also we learned that these puzzles can be written by people, not by computers.
So what is variant Sudoku? Obviously, Tanta and I kind of went over a couple of the variant Sudoku constraints, but essentially it's just Sudoku with a twist. You add extra rules, extra constraints that change the logic or the mathematical concepts that you think about while solving Sudoku. So kind of breeze right over this since Tanta and I covered it, but obviously she mentioned thermometers, where they increase from bulb to tip, and killer cages as well. But there's so many other constraints that are still being created and that have a wide community around. Now, in addition to the logical constraints, they can also create some pretty interesting designs in terms of the Sudoku. How did we get started solving? So obviously we'd solved like normal Sudoku before taking the course, but once we took that Puzzles and Paradoxes course at Clemson University, we learned that variant Sudoku is a thing. So we started small, started with 4x4 grids, and learned how to think about single constraints, learned about thermometers perhaps, focus on killer cages or crop key dots, and learned how to progressively work our way up to solving 6x6 grids and then 9x9 grids. And so we learned how to sort of think about the logical constraints, not just by solving Sudoku ourselves, but from watching other people solve, whether on YouTube or others in the class. And so we learned to work as a team to solve Sudoku and understand the logical constraints in variant Sudoku.
Yeah, and we learned to set much in the way that we learned to solve. So we started really small with 4x4s, worked our ways up to 6x6s and 9x9s. And again, we started with a single constraint so that we don't clutter our thinking or try to throw too many things at once and stop following the actual logic. And we learned using a couple of online setting tools. So there's free for everybody, F-Puzzles and Sudoku Maker if you're interested in trying this out on your own. And so the question is, what have we learned and how did we grow? We learned that setting is a pretty creative process, and usually when you're starting with a puzzle, it starts with an idea, maybe a constraint that you're interested in working with, a theme around the puzzle. Maybe you want to set a puzzle for a holiday, which we often do, or an interaction that you think is going to play out really nicely on the grid. And the goal was to transition from chaotic setting to intentional setting. So a lot of us started off where we were just throwing stuff on the grid and really hoping that it became human solvable, which is not how you should set a puzzle. But my very first puzzle that I set where I could recognize the intentionality was this one. It's called Roman Fever, which I set with a friend called KKQ. And this is where I really felt like I'd started coming up with a break-in from the beginning, and I was wanting to communicate with the solver in a particular way. And this is where I became a real setter.
Absolutely. And so, of course, throughout the whole process of learning how to solve and how to set, we learned that inherently it's a collaborative process. And of course, you want to have fun. Those are the big things we learned. This is obviously, I think this is a picture from SudokuCon of 2023 last year, where a couple of classmates and friends of ours went on to a live stream and solved Sudoku live, which was a great process, fun, tons of fun. And it's just, whenever you have fun doing something that you love, you want to share that fun. And so that was a big thing that we learned how to do, is just collaborate with others and have fun.
Yeah, and through our class, we've also gotten to participate in some sharing and outreach. So we've both been featured on YouTube and on Twitch with people solving our puzzles. And I've been specifically able to solve online as a live solver and on Brimster puzzles and at SudokuCon with Christian. And this is me solving the themed puzzle Hi Barbie on Brimster's Sudoku channel. I got to play the role of Sudoku Barbie. It was really cool. And this has really grown my confidence and helped me to be a better setter and a better solver.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, a couple classmates of ours and students at Clemson University actually came and created a puzzle book, the Signet Sudoku puzzle book, that was helped and curated sort of by Dr. Neil Calkin and Dr. Eliza Gallagher, and all of their students kind of came together to create a puzzle book of over 60 puzzles, all created by students within the classes. So it's a great way to, if you're interested, check it out, solve some puzzles.
So what's next for us? Well, first of all, we believe that Sudoku is a great logic workout for our future careers as software engineers. And I'm super excited because I'm going to work for Microsoft this year. And they have a huge puzzle culture out there. So for the past couple of years, I've been an intern, and I've gotten to do a lot of their intern puzzle events, which have been super fun. And this year, I'd like to join their setting team so that I can set and lovingly torture some interns with my variant Sudoku.
Absolutely.
So we're also producing a second volume of the book, which will come out this semester. So watch out for that in May if you'd like to see even more puzzles by Falcone and myself, Lumos. And we are also part of the 9x9 project, which will be explained in just a moment.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us.